The Ava family and the Alexander family have been friends for 100 years. At the party, the two families sat together to discuss the marriage. My parents asked me whom I wanted to marry. Without hesitation, I chose my childhood friend who was rather carefree. However, after marriage, he went racing, flirted with other women, and made me the laughingstock within the circle. In the end, he even indulged his new girlfriend to drive on the highway and kill me. It caused me to lose my two unborn children along with my own life. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself on the day of the marriage discussion. Miss Ava has a bad temper, doesn't have good grades, and isn't pretty. Whoever wants her can have her. I definitely don't want her, Alexander said with a dark face, his words as venomous as ever. I was on edge, my palms sweating, my body trembling as I couldn't believe that I had been reborn. The tragic scenes of my previous life were still vivid in my mind. I stood up with my hair standing on end and refused without hesitation, I won't marry. Everyone was taken aback. Alexander, with his dark face, was visibly stunned. Alexander's mother stood up and quickly grabbed my hand. Ava, don't listen to his nonsense. You know that Alexander is just sharp-tongued, but he has been good to you since childhood. I shook my head violently and threw off her hand. I once thought that Alexander was just a bit sharp-tongued. So when he said those words, I just took them as a joke. But on the first day of our marriage, he set off fireworks all over the place for his first love. He promised that he and I were just in a business marriage. And there was no affection between us. It made me the laughingstock within the circle on the very first day. I still shook my head and refused, Mrs. Alexander, I'm sorry, but I don't want to marry him. For a moment, no one knew what to say. Alexander frowned in disbelief, and then he sneered. What? Just because I said I won't marry you, you're using such despicable means? I swallowed nervously. Looking at the man I had loved for more than 10 years, I laughed self-deprecating lie out of disappointment. I sneered and said, Alexander, from now on Ava will never pester you again. After saying that, I quickly tried to leave. Suddenly, a hand grabbed me. I looked up in a panic and met my brother's worried gaze. In an instant, tears welled up in my eyes. I rushed into my brother's arms and hugged him tightly. Brother. I stepped back from my brother's embrace and couldn't believe it as I touched my brother's shoulders and face with both hands. It was real. All of this was real. At this moment, I didn't care about the others anymore. The tears couldn't stop flowing as I cried. Brother, you're still here. That's great, that's great. Men understand men the best. In my previous life, my brother was the only one who didn't agree with my marriage to Alexander. But I was stubborn. Ignoring his dissuasion. During a kidnapping incident, my brother fell to his death from a high building while trying to save me. Remembering the look of fear and helplessness on his face before he died, my heart ached as if it were bleeding. My brother. All of this was my own fault. He didn't deserve to die for me. After a long time, my brother's eyes turned red with heartache as he held me in his arms. He turned to look at our parents who were sitting in the main seats. Mom and Dad, I think we should talk about this marriage another time. He was about to take his sister away. Suddenly Alexander, who was standing not far away, reached out his hand. He gritted his teeth as if he wanted to say something. My brother directly pulled me behind him and frowned as he warned, Alexander, I've been lenient with you because of the good relationship between our two families and because Ada likes you. But now that my sister has said she won't marry you, I have no reason to be polite to you anymore. He had a cold expression on his face. People in the circle knew that he was a sister con. If it weren't for his sister liking Alexander, he would have already taken action. Alexander was young and impulsive. At this moment, with so many people watching, he had already lost face when Ava refused to marry him. Now he was being threatened by Ava's brother. He couldn't stand it and rushed over. The two of them started fighting immediately. After all, my brother was older and had trained in the military a few years ago. It didn't take long for Alexander to be at a disadvantage, but he still refused to back down. Alexander's mother was anxious and kept saying, "Stop fighting, stop fighting. Ava, say something quickly." I didn't say anything. I held my mother back when she was about to step forward. My mother looked back at me. In the end, she stopped. When Alexander was beaten to his knees, my brother stopped and wiped the blood from his hands. He warned, "Stay away from my sister." He turned around, nodded politely at Alexander's mother, and took me away directly. Alexander's mother ran to her son with a pained expression. On the way back, my mind kept replaying the events of my previous life. Remembering my brother's death, remembering that our company was finally bankrupted by Alexander, my father lost his mind and committed suicide to end his life. And my mother became crazy and was sent to a mental hospital. As for me, after learning all the truth, when I was trying to escape from him, I was killed by his new lover who chased after me in a car. My 2 children who were 7 months pregnant were gone. And I died as well. I bit my lower lip tightly, my hands clenched tightly. It wasn't until I tasted the metallic flavor in my mouth that I came back to my senses. My brother turned around and saw my pale face. Remembering what had happened at the party just now, he was silent for a moment and then said with heartache, "Are you worried about Alexander? I did hit him a bit hard just now, but—" "No," I interrupted my brother, looking at him with tears in my eyes. "I'm just thinking that it's a blessing from heaven that you're here, Mom and Dad are here, and I'm here too. Also, brother, just now you clearly—" I lowered my head. My brother knew his limits when he fought. Alexander only had some minor injuries and nothing serious. Hearing my words, my brother chuckled softly. "Silly girl, brother will always be with you. You don't have to get married. With brother here, you won't have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of your life." I grabbed my brother's hand blankly and said word by word, "Brother, can we just keep the relationship with the Alexander family at a certain distance?" My brother had taken full control of the company a few years ago, and he made all the decisions about everything. We had always had business dealings with the Alexander family. My brother frowned for a second and then relaxed. He nodded and smiled gently. "Okay, brother promises you." I finally let out a sigh of relief. I was so tired that I fell asleep as soon as I lay down in bed when I got home. Throughout the night, my mind kept replaying the truth I learned in my previous life. Outside the private room that day, his friend said worriedly, "Are you sure you want to keep that one from the Ava family? Ava knows all the truth. If she wakes up, won't she make a huge fuss?" "What, do you like her? Then I'll give her to you," he said. His friend shook his head violently. "No, no, no. Ava is pregnant with your child now. I definitely don't dare to have any ideas about her. But if she finds out that you bankrupted her family and that your actions are related to her father's death, I'm afraid she'll cause a lot of trouble when the time comes. Don't worry. Why do you think I arranged the hospital personally? Besides, all of this is their own fault. If they hadn't forced me to marry Ava and driven Emma to death, none of this would have happened." I opened my eyes in horror, my back soaked with sweat. When I came to my senses, my heart was pounding. I hugged my bent legs tightly. The word Emma suddenly flashed into my mind. Emma, Alexander's first love. At the birthday banquet of the old lady of the Alexander family, she came uninvited and was bullied, and finally committed suicide. I didn't know the reason at all. I thought Alexander would make a big scene. But he didn't. He played the good husband and came to accompany me on time every day. My brother had advised me to be careful. I listened. Until 2 months later, I attended a banquet with him. A car that lost control drove towards us. Alexander protected me at the first moment. And he fell into a coma for a month. After that, I no longer had any precautions against him. It was as if the incident with Emma had never happened. Until now, I finally came to my senses. Alexander had hated me for a long time. He hated that I married him. And he blamed me and the Ava family for Emma's death. He thought that I had arranged for Emma to be bullied at the banquet, and he held me responsible for her death. There was a knock on the door. I looked up and saw my brother, who had come in without me noticing. I instinctively asked, "Brother, when did you come in?" My brother walked over and said worriedly, "I knocked on the door for a long time. Since you didn't respond, I was worried that something had happened to you. Why are you sweating so much? Are you not feeling well? Or are you worried about Alexander?" "Don't worry. I sent someone to check on him this morning. He just had a few broken ribs and there's nothing serious," my brother said. Afraid that I wouldn't believe him, he was about to make a call. I reached out my hand to stop him immediately. "Brother, I don't like Alexander anymore. I'm serious. I don't like him." My brother was taken aback. He was silent for a long time and finally smiled and stroked my head in praise. "Okay, brother believes you. Since that's the way it is, let's have breakfast. You've lost a lot of weight recently." I nodded. "I'll come down in a moment." Before my brother left, I hesitated for a moment and suddenly asked, "Brother, do you believe in dreams?" "Generally speaking. The fact of being reborn is too absurd. But if it were just a dream, hardly anyone would believe it." I looked at my brother expectantly, but deep down, I was also afraid that my brother wouldn't believe me. My brother turned around and nodded without hesitation. "As long as it's your dream, I believe it." I was stunned and couldn't say anything out of gratitude. I smiled with satisfaction. "Brother, I have something to tell you later." My brother responded with the okay and left the room. After taking a shower, I glanced at the latest message and sneered. Alexander was really busy. Even though his ribs were broken, he still had the time to send me a message asking me to go to the hospital to see him. "Oh, I forgot." The other person replied quickly with a question mark. I was surprised for a second and then typed, "I forgot to delete you." Looking at the words the other person is typing on the chat interface, I quickly blocked and deleted him in one go. When I got to the dining room, my parents and brother had already been waiting. The nanny brought the breakfast up. As soon as I sat down, my mother asked, "What's going on between you and that guy from the Alexander family?" When my father heard this, he quickly grabbed her hand and winked at her. I froze for a second and immediately explained, "I have no relationship with him from now on." When my father heard this, he instinctively asked, "Then what about the arranged marriage?" My mother slapped him and said angrily, "What arranged marriage? My daughter doesn't like him anymore. There's no need for an arranged marriage. Our family doesn't have to rely on my daughter's arranged marriage to develop. If it wasn't for the fact that my daughter liked him, that guy from the Alexander family is so carefree and idle. I don't think much of him at all." Yes, yes, yes. Looking at them bickering, I couldn't help but laugh, but tears fell involuntarily. In fact, until now, I still can't believe that I was reborn. I always feel that this is just a dream, something I fantasized about before I died. Once I wake up, my parents and brother will be gone. But now, even if I'm really trapped in a dream, it's still fine. As long as my brother is here and my parents are here. This breakfast took longer than usual. I was different from before, and my brother noticed it. He didn't feel at ease leaving me alone, so he took me to the company directly. I rarely came to the company. Along the way, when people greeted me, I would just nod blankly. When we got to the office, a ray of sunlight shone through the floor-to-ceiling windows. I looked at the man's back standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows. A sharp pain of memories rushed into my mind. I crouched on the ground in pain. There were all kinds of voices around me. My brother's voice. And that man's voice. But I was in so much pain that I couldn't hear clearly what was being said. I only remembered that before I completely fainted, I heard the words run quickly. When I woke up again, I looked at the surrounding environment and found myself in the hospital. I just rubbed my sore eyes when a hand grabbed mine. I instinctively looked up and met the man's gaze. It was James. My brother's friend, who was rather taciturn. I rarely had contact with him. I was just about to speak. I didn't know when Alexander appeared and punched James in the face. This punch. No one could react in time. When I came to my senses, the two of them were already fighting. James was more of a scholarly type. I hurried forward to stop them. Stop fighting, stop fighting. The two of them were still swinging their hands. Alexander's punch almost hit me in the face. Lee Han quickly pulled me over, and I fell into his arms. It was James. My attention was on the fact that he, who is so gentle and refined, could fight. Before I could react, Alexander grabbed my arm with a fierce expression. He said with a cold face, "Come with me." James also suddenly grabbed my hand. He didn't use much force, but Alexander's grip on me hurt. I frowned and was about to speak. A flood of memories rushed into my mind. I was completely shocked and stood there, my body trembling, looking at Alexander with hatred in my eyes. I remembered. I remembered everything. In my previous life, after my brother died, James rushed into the Alexander family to take me away. But at that time, Alexander had connections both in the underworld and the legal world. He was quickly overpowered and caught. And at that time I learned the truth. My brother's death was caused by Emma. She sent people to kidnap me. She knew that if I died, Alexander would blame her to some extent. So she forced my brother to choose between the two of us. When I learned the truth, I wanted to fight Emma to the death. But Alexander locked me up. I was so emotional that I threatened to commit suicide several times. I stiffly looked at Alexander. In my previous life, I had no memory of all this. Now that I think about it, he had someone hypnotize me to forget this matter. No wonder I always felt that I had forgotten something. It turned out that the truth of everything had been known from the very beginning. I laughed self-deprecating lie, shook off his hand, and slapped him hard in the face. Alexander was stunned on the spot. I used a lot of force with this slap. My palm turned red and it hurt a little. But it couldn't compare to the pain in my heart. I covered my aching heart and looked at him with hatred. Alexander, I will never forgive you. I will never forgive you in this life and the next. My brother came in and was instantly furious when he saw this scene. He punched Alexander, making him step back several steps. Get out. I told you to stay away from my sister. Alexander immediately wanted to fight back. Ma, who had followed behind, stopped him. Mo angrily cursed, "You're going too far. Alexander is the young master of the Alexander family. How can you treat him like this? Miss Ava, you used to like him. How can you just watch them beat Alexander? Your love for him is so fake." She gently touched Alexander's broken corner of the mouth with a look of heartache. I couldn't help but laugh. This wretched couple was really interesting. If you like him, he's yours. I think he's so filthy that I don't even want to look at him. I pulled my brother and left directly. James followed behind and kicked Alexander hard before he was satisfied. Originally, since I was reborn, I didn't want to have so many entanglements with Alexander. But he caused the downfall of the Ava family. I walked in a hurry. These suddenly returned memories caught me off guard. My brother, who didn't notice anything strange. It wasn't until we got in the car that I finally came to my senses. I resolutely wiped away the tears at the corners of my eyes. "Brother, James, I want to tell you about a dream." Whether they believed me or not, I told them everything that had happened, from beginning to end. I'm not someone who cries easily, but when I talked about all these things, the tears couldn't stop flowing. When I was almost done speaking, my brother's face darkened with anger and he punched the glass. The glass shattered and his fist was bleeding. I quickly stepped forward to stop him, crying in fear. "Brother, you can't have anything else happen." I instinctively hugged my brother who was about to take revenge on Alexander, using all my strength to stop him from being impulsive. "Brother, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. If I hadn't insisted on marrying Alexander, none of this would have happened. It's all because of me. In my previous life, on that highway when I learned the truth, I said sorry countless times. The deaths of my brother and father, and my mother's madness, I was the one to blame. If I hadn't ignored my brothers dissuaded me and was bent on liking Alexander, and he was forced to marry me, none of this would have happened. I blamed myself even more. James patted his impulsive friend and gestured with his eyes for him to look at his beloved sister. My brother came to his senses, let out a heavy sigh, and stroked his sister's head to soothe her. Silly child, why are you saying sorry? None of this is your fault. There's nothing wrong with liking someone. You didn't know what kind of person he was. Whether it's a dream or being reborn. Now that none of this has happened, it's still not too late. As for Alexander, he drove Dad to death, made Mom go crazy, and caused you to lose your life and the lives of your 2 unborn children. I won't let him off. There was a deep hatred for Alexander in his eyes. I used to think that this neighbor boy was carefree and not someone who could achieve great things. But now, seeing that he could lie low for so many years, he must be a scheming and treacherous person. After returning to the company, my brother immediately asked his assistant to investigate all the situations of the Alexander Group. Although Alexander is in charge of the Alexander Group now, many things are still being handled by his father. He just has the empty title of general manager. Since he secretly acquired our company in the previous life, this time we'll acquire their company. Whether it's true or not, we won't hold back. He has always been decisive. Before, because his sister liked Alexander, he gave Alexander some leeway. Now there's no need for that. This matter couldn't be hidden from our parents. People of their age might find it absurd, but as long as we explain it, they will believe us. My brother didn't feel at ease leaving me alone, so he asked his most trusted friend James to accompany me. While waiting for the car, the warm yellow light of the setting sun happened to shine on his face. I suddenly remembered my previous life. It was the same when he told me the truth. I smiled and asked a question that I had always wanted to ask. James, do you like my brother? As soon as the words left my mouth, James, who had a calm expression before, instantly blushed. He was so angry that he stammered. You're talking nonsense. How could I like your brother? I understood and laughed even more happily. Although I don't come to the company often, I secretly joined the private group of the company. I had heard before that he was inseparable from my brother. And someone even saw that when my brother was asleep, he secretly covered my brother with a blanket. Normally, between men, they don't care about such things. If they do care, there must be some other reason, such as liking. I had been feeling so depressed for so long, and this was a rare good thing. I tilted my head and leaned closer to him, teasingly smiling. You don't like him? Then why are you blushing, James? Your ears are so red. I laughed loudly, not noticing the person secretly observing us from behind at all. It wasn't until the driver came that I restrained myself a bit. Alexander, who was hiding in the corner, punched the wall. There was an emotion in his eyes that he didn't even realize. Mo was worried about his injury and just reached out to touch his hand. Alexander instinctively pushed her with force because of her sudden approach. Mo's high heels made her lose her balance and fall backward. She landed on the ground in a sorry state. She looked at Alexander in disbelief. But his gaze was still fixed on Ava. Mo looked at Ava with resentment. Seeing her chatting and laughing with another man, she was consumed by jealousy. Why did everyone want to revolve around her? She smiled sinister lie. As soon as I got home, I saw Alexander sitting on the sofa. He sat there with an annoyed expression. When Alexander's mother saw me, she was first delighted, and then she secretly reminded Alexander. He lazily glanced at me. I expressionlessly avoided his gaze and went over to my mother on the sofa. Seeing this, Alexander sneered and got up to come towards me. Mrs. Ava, it's better for us young people to deal with our own matters. You don't mind if I take her upstairs to talk, do you? Before getting an answer, he forcefully grabbed my hand and dragged me upstairs. The pain made me furrow my brows. Because of the huge disparity in strength between a man and a woman, I couldn't exert much strength. When we got to the room, Alexander loosened his grip on my hand a bit. I quickly shook off his hand and took 2 steps back. Alexander, there's nothing for us to talk about. Get out. The Ava family doesn't welcome you, and I definitely don't welcome you either. In the past, when I said these words to him, he would disdainfully mock me and turn around to leave. But now, he smiled and looked at me, as if he was looking at a precious treasure that he had cherished for many years. I felt a shiver down my spine being stared at. Ava, do you hate me? I was taken aback and nodded without hesitation. Yes, I hate you. I wish you could go to the 18th level of hell. Alexander furrowed his brows, and as if he didn't understand, he stepped forward and lifted my chin with his finger. He asked in confusion, why, just because of the words I said? But in the past, I said so many things, and you still followed me around. Or is this just a trick of playing hard to get? TSK, it seems quite interesting. He laughed recklessly. In the past he thought that Ava, as a young lady, was not as interesting as Emma in many ways. But now, looking at this little cat that gets angry easily, he was really quite interested. Most importantly, the girl who used to follow him around had suddenly changed. This made him even more interested. I laughed in disgust, looked him up and down, and sneered. Playing hard to get with you? Alexander, stop being ridiculous. I was blind before. Now I only feel disgusted with you and hate you. I really wish you could die right now. Do you see that windowsill? Jump off it, and maybe my hatred for you will fade away. I mocked him and pointed at the windowsill. This was the 2nd floor. Jumping off it wouldn't kill anyone at most, it would make someone disabled. Alexander's expression froze. He took a step back and followed my gaze to the windowsill. When he turned back, our eyes met, and my gaze was full of hatred. There was not a trace of love in my eyes. He suddenly felt a strange feeling in his heart. After a long while, he suddenly burst into wild laughter. I furrowed my brows and took a few more steps back. He directly rushed to the bedside, picked up the photo album on the bedside table. I was stunned and instinctively rushed over to snatch it. He quickly dodged, turned my body around, and pulled me into his arms. His head pressed tightly against my shoulder. The warm and familiar breath made my stomach churn. Alexander, let me go, you bastard. Huh? You say you don't like me? Then why do you still keep the photo of us together, and you put it by the bedside? Ava, you're crazy about me, aren't you? He laughed arrogantly and unrestrained lie. The slight displeasure he had before disappeared the moment he saw the photo. He didn't even realize that all his emotions were because of the woman in front of him. I clenched my fists. The moment he handed the photo album to me to look at, I directly snatched it and threw it on the ground with precision. With a bang, the world seemed to quiet down at this moment. While Alexander was still stunned and hadn't reacted, I immediately broke free from his embrace and slapped him. I spat and sneered. Don't be so full of yourself. I just forgot to throw this trash away. I had just woken up from the past yesterday. I really forgot to deal with these trash things. The smile on Alexander's face instantly disappeared. He became a bit crazy. Just as he was about to step forward, James, who had been waiting for me downstairs for a long time, kicked him away. I quickly ran behind him. The commotion here was so loud that it quickly attracted the elders downstairs. Although Alexander's mother didn't know what had happened, seeing my panicked look, she immediately guessed that her son had done something stupid again. She slapped his shoulder hard and scolded him for being unworthy. Are you bullying Ava again? If you like Ava, be straightforward about it. Why do you have to bully her? Do you really think that the saying beating is a sign of affection and scolding is a sign of love applies to you and Ava? If you bully Ava like this again, she will really leave you. She was so angry. As a mother, how could she not tell who her son liked? She had met Emma before. In her son's eyes, Emma was just like a docile dog. She knew exactly how her son felt about Ava. When Alexander's mother said that her son liked me, I couldn't help laughing. I didn't say a word, and the look in my eyes when I looked at Alexander conveyed everything. Alexander's mother wanted to defend her son a few words. Alexander raised his head and saw James protecting Ava behind him. The way Ava trusted him so much made him insanely jealous. He was the one who grew up with Ava as childhood sweethearts. Who was James? In his eyes, James wasn't even as good as a dog. He left in a huff without hesitation. After this farce ended, I told my parents about the dream. It was so fantastical. They still somewhat didn't want to believe it. My father tried to persuade me that Kid Alexander has a bad temper, but his parents have treated you like their own daughter since you were a child. Our families have been friends for 100 years. How could Alexander treat us like this? I stared at my parents for a long time and only said a few words. Father, Alexander has a mistress named Emma. Alexander's mother knows about it. Now Alexander doesn't care if we know this, but his mother clearly knows and has warned Emma. She told Emma that if she wanted to be a mistress, she should do it properly and not let anything slip. If they really regarded me as their own daughter, they wouldn't have secretly suppressed this matter and hidden it from our family. Maybe Alexander's father and mother were truly good to me. But every parent only loves their own child more. There's no doubt about that. When I saw James out, seeing that I was in a low mood, he immediately smiled and explained for Ava's parents, little Ava, uncle and definitely believe you more. They just can't accept that their friends whom they've known for a lifetime have suddenly turned bad. I nodded. A month later. During this month, the Alexander family didn't come to our house again. Alexander seemed to have disappeared. People in the circle said that he had broken up with Emma. To be precise, he lost interest in Emma and kicked her away. During this month, my brother acquired a lot of shares in the Alexander group. On my way to find my brother, I was kidnapped. When I opened my eyes, I looked expressionlessly at the familiar rooftop. It was the same as in my previous life. I struggled a few times with the ropes. Suddenly, a burst of maniacal laughter came, and then Emma appeared with an axe in her hand. I looked at Emma inferently. Seeing Ava's expressionless face, she instantly went crazy and mocked. Ava, if you're scared, just cry. What are you pretending for? Do you think your brother will die for you this time? I was stunned. The expressionless face suddenly showed some reaction. I looked at Emma in disbelief. She smiled sinisterly, brushed the hair beside her ear, and a hideous scar was revealed. I froze in place. In this life, I clearly didn't marry Alexander and didn't go to Alexander's grandmother's birthday party. How could this scar of hers appear now? A thought flashed through my mind, and I blurted out, Emma, did you have that dream too? She sneered and shook her head, no, no, no. It's not a dream. I was reborn. Ava, so you were reborn too. She continued to laugh as if it was within her expectations. I knew it. You used to love Alexander so much that you were willing to die for him. How could you suddenly change your attitude and hate him so much? So you've remembered everything. You remembered that I killed your brother, that he killed your father and drove your mother crazy. Ava, it must be so painful to be treated like this by the person you love the most. Oh right, and your twin babies. She seemed to recall some wonderful memories and laughed even more wildly. You don't still think that your children were killed by Alexander's new lover, do you? My expression changed suddenly. What did she mean by that? I clearly remembered that in my previous life, the person chasing my car was Alexander's new lover. She let out a wail and innocently pointed at herself. Wow, it wasn't his new lover who killed your children. It was me. Surprised. I didn't die in my previous life at all. I planned all of this. I just wanted you to die. I didn't want you to give birth to any children, whether it was the first one or countless others. My heart turned cold. I looked at her with a completely confused look. Why? If you wanted Alexander, you could have just said it. Why did you treat me like this? Why? Memories of her life flashed through Emma's mind. She sat on a worn-out sofa, propping up her face with her small hand, as if thinking about this question. After a long time, After the cold wind blew on her face, she seemed to come back to her senses. There's no reason. I just think why? Why were you doted on like a princess from the moment you were born? Whether it was in high school or university, why did everyone revolve around you? The counselors and teachers only liked you. Isn't it just because you're the high and mighty Miss Ava? Ava, you stole my chance to study abroad. I can only be a low-level employee all my life and never have the opportunity to move up. I furrowed my brows tightly. Studying abroad? I suddenly remembered that it was because I was the top student in the school that the school arranged it for me. Looking at her face, I suddenly remembered Emma, whose grades were on par with mine. You're Emma? I was shocked. I heard that she died in a car accident back then. She smiled triumphantly, satisfied with my shocked reaction, and then laughed. If you want to know who hates you the most in the world, it's definitely me. I was an orphan since I was a child. I was the best student in the school from primary school to junior high school. But then I met you. You took away all my glory. Now you even want to take away my Alexander. After Alexander found out that I killed you and our children, he found people to gang rape me and tortured me every day. Now that you've heard this, are you going crazy with joy? Ava, everything I've suffered is because of you. How could I not hate you? As long as you disappear, they will all come to me. She laughed maniacally. She didn't notice Alexander, who was secretly coming up, at all. I didn't expect that the first person to find me would be him. Ma seemed to sense my gaze. Just as she was about to turn around, I immediately stopped her and asked, Ma, what do you mean when you say Alexander likes me? I knew exactly how much Alexander hated me. When this was brought up, Mama went crazy. She raised the axe fiercely and then put it down. She sneered, anyway, you're going to die soon. Why don't I make you happy? Ava, you didn't know until you died in your previous life that Alexander only likes you. He was good to me just because I somewhat resembled you. But he didn't even realize his love for you. Every time he saw you smile and talk with other men, he was insanely jealous. Oh, I suddenly thought of a word, wyander. Alexander's love for you is like that. No one can take you away, not even your parents. When your brother wanted to take you away that year, Alexander found out and secretly threatened to kill him in front of me. So I was very obedient. Your father didn't commit suicide. He knew the truth about your brother's death and died in a car accident on his way to find you in a hurry. Your high and mighty mother initially pretended to be crazy to protect you and tried to secretly tell you the truth. But unfortunately, you were in a coma for a long time because of the things at home. I had your phone. After I knew the truth, I told Alexander. But he cared too much about you. He didn't want you to lose your mother as well, so he secretly changed her medicine and made her really go crazy. This sudden truth caught me completely off guard. I instinctively looked at Alexander in horror. Alexander also froze in place when he heard these words. Ma reacted quickly. When she saw Alexander, she was first delighted and then immediately rushed in front of me, pressing the axe against my neck. Alexander panicked for the first time in his life. Ma, if even a single hair on her head is hurt, I'll make sure you can neither live nor die. Ma looked at Alexander in disbelief. She didn't care and laughed. Alexander, I don't blame you for treating me like that in the previous life. I love you so much. Why do you only love this bitch Ava? Her eyes were red, and she exerted some strength with her hand. The axe was so sharp that it could chop off a head. With a slight increase in strength, blood instantly oozed from my neck. Alexander reached out his hand in fear. Don't do it. Don't move. Tell me what you want. I'll give you anything. Ma shook her head. I don't want anything. Even if I have the chance to live, I wanted it to die with me. She untied the ropes and pressed me against the edge of the rooftop. There were a lot of sundries here, and one could easily trip and fall. While moving, I secretly gave Alexander a look. He immediately understood. He looked around and noticed the snipers and SWAT officers hiding around. Even he hadn't noticed them at first. not to mention Emma. Seeing that Alexander understood, I let out a sigh of relief. I was kidnapped in my previous life. How could I not make any preparations this time? I had long installed a locator on myself. Once something happened, the police would be alerted. What I wanted was to catch them all at once. I continued to signal Alexander. After all, we had been childhood sweethearts for many years, and we still had some tacit understanding. He immediately coaxed, "Minda, you don't have to lose your life. I'll marry you." "Marry her?" Mo laughed coldly. "Marry me? Do you think I'm a fool? If I can't live happily, neither can you. Alexander, I want you to lose the one you love in both this life and the previous life." After saying that, she put one hand on my shoulder. I quickly inserted the prepared needle into her body. Mema couldn't care about anything else. She hugged me tightly. Just like when I hugged her tightly at the stairway that year. She smiled faintly. My legs could have been cured back then, but Alexander wrongly blamed me. He made me pay with my life for your children. I was lucky to survive, but I can no longer walk. How can I not blame you for all of this? Before the medicine took effect, she used all her strength to push me backward. Alexander rushed over. He quickly switched positions with me. First, he pushed Emma away, but then he tripped over the sundries and his whole body tilted backward. I was stunned. At the last second before he fell, I held his hand tightly. But my strength was really weak. After a while, sweat broke out on my forehead, and the strength in my hands gradually loosened. Due to inertia, my body also fell forward. When Alexander rushed over just now, he stepped on a nail. Now that he was hanging in the air, he had no strength left. Seeing that Ava was about to be pulled down, he forcefully broke her hand away. He laughed and tears welled up in his eyes as he said, "Ava, maybe I should have said sorry to you a long time ago. Whether what Emma said is true or false, I've been a beast. You said that if I jumped off the second floor of your house, you wouldn't hate me anymore. You'll keep your word, right? It doesn't matter if you don't." I glanced down, and my hand that was holding him gradually loosened. There was a trace of disbelief in his eyes, but he quickly let it go. He thought that if he had really gone through so many things, he would definitely hate the other person to death. He closed his eyes and was ready to face death. A year later, after coming out of prison, hearing Emma's hateful voice, I freely enjoyed the scorching sunlight. "Ava." I opened my eyes and saw Alexander sitting in a wheelchair. A faint smile appeared on his decadent face. I took a few steps back, and there was no emotion in my eyes as I looked at him. "Alexander, I will never forgive you in this life. Even if you give me the shares in the company yourself, it won't make any difference." After saying that, I ran towards my brother and James not far away. "Brother, sister-in-law, let's go home." On Halloween, my boyfriend fed me the cake he made himself. But when I woke up, I was lying in the bed of his childhood friend's stepfather. I was so humiliated that I broke down, but he turned around and forced me to describe the details of the abuse to the police. "I dated you just for this day. It's your honor to help Luna sue that old pervert. Hurry up and cooperate with the investigation." Overwhelmed with grief and indignation, I jumped off the building and committed suicide. When I opened my eyes again, I was 4 hours before the start of the birthday party. "Sophia, don't dilly-dally. Come and help with the balloons. The party will start in 4 hours." I opened my eyes suddenly and heard someone calling my name. My boyfriend Julian waved his hand in front of my eyes. "And you, quickly transfer me some money. I haven't bought a gift for Luna yet." Upon hearing this, I was certain that I had been reborn, and I was back on Halloween. Halloween happened to be on the same day as my birthday. Julian and Luna came early in the morning, saying they would set up a Halloween party to celebrate my birthday. But I knew that in 4 hours I would fall into their trap and be completely dragged into hell. Luna whirled around in the high-end custom-made princess dress that my dad bought for me and said, "Sophia, does it look good on me? I can cosplay a princess like this." Julian praised her busily. "Luna, it looks really nice on you. You look much better than Sophia." Luna gave him a shy look. The nanny Arya was also busy in the kitchen, cooking rare seafood that was air-fried here. I'm severely allergic to seafood. Just one bite will make me break out in rashes all over my body. But Luna and Julian both like seafood. It's obvious that these are all prepared for them. Although the party was held in my villa, and I prepared the party food and costumes, no one present cared about my feelings at all. It seemed that I was just a tool for their party. I looked coldly at the three people in front of me, suppressing the hatred in my heart, and called the delivery staff. Take all these things away. You staff can divide the work among yourselves. I'm allergic to seafood, but I'll still pay you. All three of them were stunned. Luna immediately said pitifully, Sophia, don't you like it? I know. You must be angry because I want to celebrate my birthday with you. Julian said with pity, Luna, don't say that. Since you two have the same birthday, you should celebrate it together. You deserve to enjoy the treatment of a princess. While the two of them were playing along, I directly paid, and the staff sensibly stepped back. Sophia, are you crazy? We worked so hard to find the top quality Australian lobster for you, and you just don't want it. Do you care about our feelings? Arya was also anxious. That's right, miss. Why don't you buy them something else as compensation? Luna started to act coquettously directly. Since you're allergic, Sophia, we won't eat it. It's a pity that we didn't have a good time on my birthday. Let's order some Japanese cuisine then. Then she directly ordered takeout of kaiseki cuisine, which costs 5 digits per person in this city. Julian also took the opportunity to chime in, ignoring my angry expression. Then let's call a dance troupe. I'll have some face when my classmates come later. Seeing that they didn't know what's good for them, I didn't express my opinion and let them order like crazy on their phones. When the food was delivered, I achieved my goal and stopped pretending. I called the bodyguard. What does her birthday have to do with me? I'm not celebrating it. Bodyguard, throw them out. Also, Julian, we're officially breaking up from now on. Let's never have anything to do with each other in the future. After saying that, I immediately dragged Julian and Luna out and closed the door. The adulterous couple still wanted to pester me, but they were caught by the takeout guy and the dance troupe, and a group of people got into a mess. Hey, Sophia, you haven't paid yet. I ordered all this for you. Sister Sophia, you should know when to act coquettously. How can you make Julian pay? Don't you want him to marry you? Before they could finish shouting, they were punched and kicked by the swarming staff. Good, so you want to eat without paying? Take 100 kicks from me first. We cancelled our afternoon performance for your order. Brothers and sisters, come on, beat these two shameless people. The dancers had well-built muscles, and the adulterous couple soon became a mess with swollen faces. I checked my watch. There were only 4 hours left until the time of my death in my previous life. In this life, I will never let myself make the same mistake again and fall into the evil scheme of this adulterous couple. Luna was my boyfriend Julian's childhood friend and had the same birthday as me, so I naturally regarded her as my best friend. But Luna's stepfather was a lecher who often molested her. Feeling sorry for her, I often invited her to live in my house. On this day in my previous life, I spent tens of thousands of yuan arranging a Halloween party. But Julian used me as a tool to avenge Luna. When I walked out of the room covered in blood and limping, Julian tied me up with a rope with excitement in his eyes. Sophia, this is excellent evidence. You have the DNA of that beast in your body, and we have to wait for the police to collect evidence. Luna has a weak psychological endurance. It's a good deed for you to talk to the police about the process on her behalf. My mental state was on the verge of collapse, and when I heard this, my blood seemed to rush backward in my body. I was so disheartened that I climbed out of the window and jumped down while he wasn't paying attention. After being reborn in this life, I immediately placed an order for several surveillance cameras in the same city and installed them in every corner of my house, including my bedroom. Luna and Julian were still pacing anxiously in front of my door, constantly ringing the doorbell to urge me to open the door. After all, They had invited all the classmates, friends, and relatives they could, and they were planning to show off by spending my money. The nanny Arya was anxious and walked into the yard to open the door. I said coldly with a straight face, "Stop. Who allowed you to open the door?" Arya looked a bit guilty. "Miss, how can you lock people outside? They spent your money this time, but they'll get heatstroke if they're left outside." I glared at her. "This is my house, and I have the right to prevent outsiders from entering. Arya, you don't need to be a nanny in my house anymore. Please leave now." Arya looked at me in disbelief. "Sophia, what do you mean? Why are you kicking me out?" I smiled but said nothing. I took out my phone and pressed the play button. It was a recording of my dad that I had prepared in advance, in which he said that during his business trip, everything at home should be arranged according to my instructions. I directly played the video of her stealing small things in my house on the big TV screen. I was just cleaning, I put everything back later. But her fellow nannies started pointing fingers. It was obvious that they had been bullied by her a lot usually. "Wow, what kind of cleaning is that? You even put the necklace in your pocket." I was wondering why there were only 4 Australian lobsters when it was time to cart. "We bought 5 in the morning. It turns out you ate 1 for yourself to nourish your body." Arya turned pale and started to resist desperately. "You're just a little girl. What do you know? I'll wait for the man of the house to come back. You have no right to fire me." I rolled my eyes and gave an order. I asked the bodyguards my dad had arranged to protect me to lift her up and throw her out the door. There were still 3 hours left, and I needed to speed up. I immediately contacted several chefs and asked them to enter through the back door. I also had people bring a lot of Halloween costumes, makeup, and props and redecorated the whole villa. After a while, the door was suddenly opened with a key. My mother stood outside the door, looking furious, and Julian and Luna were there, looking smug and applying ice packs. "Sophia, have I been too lenient with you? How can you make your own decisions and throw the nanny Arya out? You're not in charge of this family." My mother slapped me in the face. I covered my stinging face, suppressed the hatred in my heart, and looked at her calmly. "Dad said that I have the right to make decisions about all matters in the family while he's on a business trip." My mother was about to hit me again, but the next second, Arya actually knelt down in front of me. "Sophia, please, Auntie is relying on this job to support her family. You can't drive me away. Auntie has been better to you than her own child. How can you treat me like this?" My mother kicked me in the back of my leg. "Hurry up and apologize to Arya, and then invite Luna and Julian in. They came to celebrate your birthday out of kindness. How can you be so ungrateful?" I knew they were trying to morally blackmail me. I smiled and asked Arya a rhetorical question. "You said you were good to me, but I've told you countless times that I'm allergic to seafood, yet you still cooked seafood today. Also, you're using the latest smartphone that I bought for you. Your shoes were purchased by me through an overseas agent. Even the lipstick you're wearing today was bought by me. You say I'm bullying you, but the cost of bullying you is too high, isn't it?" After I finished speaking, both my mother and Arya's expressions changed. The other nannies rolled their eyes as if they were used to this kind of thing. Just then, I raised my phone, which had been on a call. The person on the other end was my dad. "Dad, you heard it all, right? These people are ganging up on your daughter. Are you going to do something about it?" My mother's eyes widened. "How dare you, you're actually snitching." I smiled and said, "I have no choice. Dad is the head of the family. Shouldn't I ask for his opinion?" My dad on the phone told me to put it on speakerphone and turned up the volume. Then he raged, "Lin May, who allowed you to talk to my daughter like that? You're really crossing the line. Sophia can make whoever she wants leave. She's my only daughter, and I won't let her be wronged." My mother's face turned pale instantly, and she looked at me with resentment in her eyes. I closed the door again, leaving the 4 of them outside, raging and cursing. There were still more than 2 hours left. The noise outside gradually died down, but I became more and more nervous. I knew these people too well. They wouldn't give up until they achieved their goal. They must be plotting something. Sure enough, after a while, the call button on the video intercom lit up. There was only an hour left until they celebrated my birthday in my previous life. But I didn't expect that after more than 10 minutes, a more chaotic noise came from outside. Sophia, open the door quickly. Your teachers and classmates are all at the door. Let's have a party together. We even invited your grandmother from your hometown. It's so hot outside, and grandma has high blood pressure. Open the door quickly. I was stunned. I looked through the surveillance camera, and my heart tightened. My grandmother's gentle and loving voice sounded, Sophia, Grandma bought you a birthday present. Open the door quickly. Julian and Luna were holding my grandmother on either side, and behind them were my teachers and the whole class. I was stunned. I realized that Luna had sent the news about my party to the groups of my primary school, junior high school, and high school. She invited all the teachers and classmates. She also invited some of my dad's business partners, and I guessed my mother was helping her. It seemed that they were trying to force me to give in by using my grandmother and my reputation. Since it involved my dear grandmother and my dad, I took a deep breath and quickly changed my clothes. When I appeared in front of everyone, they were all stunned. I was wearing a special medieval witch costume for Halloween, looking delicate and full of vitality. In contrast, even though Luna was wearing my high-end custom-made princess dress, she looked so vulgar. Even the scumbag Julian was stunned. I smiled and said, "Who said I wasn't going to have the party? I was just preparing a surprise for everyone." My grandmother didn't know what was about to happen. She smiled and touched my head. "It doesn't matter. My granddaughter just likes a lively atmosphere. Everyone, come in and have fun." Luna and the others seemed to be surprised that I had resolved the situation so easily and couldn't help but pick a fight. "Sophia, didn't you just throw us out and say you weren't going to have the party?" But when they saw the scene inside, everyone was stunned. I had tidied up the messy living room until it was as bright as new, and I had decorated it into a perfect birthday party scene with various things. Most importantly, I had invited several chefs to cook on the spot. "What's going on? How did you manage to set it up so quickly?" I pretended to be wronged and sniffled. "Actually, I had arranged all of this long ago. I've always wanted to have a party, but I didn't want you to be bothered, so I arranged everything by myself. I just wanted to give everyone a surprise. It's really difficult for me that you forced your way in." I deliberately put on an innocent look, making Luna, Julian, and the others look like the bad guys. My teachers and classmates also couldn't stand it. Sophia meant well. Don't misunderstand her. Let's go in. Everyone, go and change your clothes. I prepared all kinds of nice cosplay costumes for you. As soon as I finished speaking, my classmates excitedly went to the fitting room to change their clothes. When they all came out, the chocolate cake was already placed on the dining table. Luna and Julian exchanged a look. "Sophia, don't eat this. We've already prepared a cake for you." I smiled. "No need. I'll just eat this. This cake was just made by the chef. It's very fresh." Julian frowned. "No, you have to eat the cake I made with my own hands. It's my sincere gift for you." I secretly looked at my phone. The surveillance showed that there was a sneaky person at the door. He claimed to be a delivery man bringing a cake. But I recognized him at once. He was Gabriel, Luna's stepfather. Just thinking of this devil who tortured me in my previous life, I shivered all over. As soon as the doorbell rang, my mother immediately went to open the door and took the cake. Soon, I was surrounded by everyone and led to cut the cake. Julian was quick and gave me the first piece of cake. "Eat it quickly, Sophia. I made it with my own hands. You have to eat it all." I lowered my eyes and smiled faintly. "But I don't want to eat the cake now." My mother said sternly, "Don't be ungrateful. Julian made it for you with his own hands. How can you let down his good intentions?" Luna also urged, "Yeah, Sophia. This is Julian's sincere gift for you. You can't let him down." They deliberately scolded me in front of all the guests, trying to force me to give in for the sake of my dad's social circle. I chuckled. I'll eat it, but Julian, you have to promise to cosplay as my maid today. As soon as I finished speaking, Julian's face changed. He was about to scold me, but he met Luna's commanding gaze. Helpless, he had to change into an alluring woman's outfit and put on long curly hair. Everyone burst into laughter. Julian gritted his teeth and pushed the cake towards me. Is that okay? Hurry up and eat the cake. Under the gaze of everyone, I nodded and took a bite of the cake with a spoon. Seeing this scene, Luna and Julian let out a sigh of relief. I casually peeled a liqueur chocolate for Julian, and he didn't refuse. Everyone was still immersed in the joy of the party. But soon, I covered my head and said I felt dizzy and sleepy. Julian quickly and attentively supported me. You guys eat first. I'll help Sophia go to bed for a while. You can call her later. May's sneer flashed in Luna's eyes, and she raised her hand and made an okay gesture. After a while, I still didn't come downstairs. Luna cleared her throat. Why hasn't Sophia come yet? I still want to give her a birthday surprise. I guess she's sleeping in. Everyone, let's go upstairs and wake her up, okay? After saying that, she turned on the live stream with her phone and led the other classmates upstairs. When she reached the bedroom door, she suddenly opened the door. My God, why is Sophia lying in my dad's bed? Her shrill voice startled the other classmates, and everyone craned their necks curiously. The entangled figures on the bed were almost naked, and everyone gasped. My mother shouted as if she was afraid that others wouldn't hear, Sophia, you slut, you actually slept with an old man. Have you no shame? It's a disgrace to our family. I'll tell your dad right now. But before she could finish, the next second, I walked out from behind the door with a smile. Mom, Luna, were you calling me? My mother and Luna widened their eyes. Seeing that I was neatly dressed, their expressions were as if they had seen a ghost. How can you? Mandetta, you shouldn't be in bed, right? I shook my head. Oh, I woke up a long time ago and changed my clothes and left. Don't you want to open your eyes and take a good look at who's lying in my bed? I pretended to be terrified and hid behind the head teacher. Teacher, look at him. How can he slander me like this? I didn't do anything at all. The head teacher quickly spread his arms to protect me. Student Julian, stop being unreasonable. If there's any problem, we'll call the police and deal with it. No matter how crazy Julian was, I insisted that I hadn't done anything. Luna looked shocked and couldn't help but mutter softly. You clearly ate the cake and said you were sleepy. Why? When the cake was mentioned, I tilted my head pretending to be confused. What's wrong with the cake? I ate it. There's no problem. I recalled and smiled. But I swapped my piece of cake with yours. Because the piece you gave me had a lot of cream and I don't like cream, so I gave it to you. You made the cake, and you handed me that piece. If there's really something wrong, could it be that you wanted to harm me? Julian widened his eyes and pointed at me, speechless for a moment. In fact, I had already discovered that the real problem wasn't the cake but the cream. Since everyone ate the cake, if there was something drugged in the cake, everyone would fall asleep. And only by sprinkling the powder on the surface of the cream in a certain part could it be less likely to be discovered. The piece Julian gave me was the one with the problem. But he didn't know that as soon as the cake was brought in, I saw the tampered piece through the surveillance. When he wasn't paying attention, I secretly scraped off that part of the cream. And the real problem was the liqueur chocolate I gave to Julian. I injected sleeping pills into it. He ate one without any precautions. I also lit an aphrodisiac incense in the bedroom, which made him drowsy as soon as he entered my bedroom. At this time, some classmates sensed that something was wrong and immediately called the police. My mother and Arya panicked and tried to stop them. Don't call the police. This concerns our reputation. We can't call the police. Looking at this scene, I sneered in my heart. I immediately pretended to be righteous and grabbed my mother's wrist. Mom, why don't you want to call the police? Do you want to watch student Julian endure this humiliation? Or do you know that rapist? As soon as I finished speaking, my mother was stunned, and Arya looked at me as if she wanted to eat me alive. But it was too late for them. Soon, the police arrived. They immediately controlled Gabriel, whose consciousness hadn't recovered. And I provided them with the surveillance evidence. There was also a surveillance camera in my bedroom. The video clearly showed that Julian sent me into the bedroom. I went to the bathroom to wash my face and then went out. After that, Julian somehow fell asleep on my bed. I leaned in and asked him, "Julian, why are you so sleepy? Did you drink too much just now? Have a good sleep. I'll go out first." I covered him with the quilt and went out. A few minutes later, Gabriel, who had taken the aphrodisiac, tiptoed in and closed the door behind him. The lights in the bedroom were dim. He didn't seem to recognize who was in the bed at all and pounced on the person. The one who didn't come out was Julian. Then he had sex with Gabriel in my bedroom. It was really disgusting. Julian shouted in front of the police, "I was raped. It was all Luna's doing. You should arrest Luna too." I pretended to be panicking and cried, "Uncle policeman, help. This is so terrifying. He was just a delivery man. I don't know how he sneaked into my room. If I hadn't woken up and left in time, something would have happened to me. I demand a thorough investigation." Luna and Julian's faces turned pale. The next second, Luna suddenly said she wanted to comfort Julian, who was emotionally stimulated, and took him out. I chuckled and put on my headphones. I had installed a bug on Julian's clothes, and now I could clearly hear their conversation. Soon, Luna spoke first. "Julian, since things are like this now, you should be the victim and help me report Gabriel." Julian widened his eyes as if he didn't recognize the person in front of him. "Luna, what are you saying? How can you treat me like this?" Luna looked indifferent, her eyes full of calculation as she spoke. "Don't forget that you said you would help me get evidence and report Gabriel for rape. Although we didn't use Sophia, we can't just give up on this. You should be the witness. You should firmly claim that Gabriel raped you. It's better to make a big fuss and get it on the news so that he can be severely punished." Julian went completely crazy. "Luna, what do you mean? I sacrificed myself for you, but you're making me lose all dignity. Are you still human?" Looking at the way this adulterous couple was tearing each other apart, I couldn't help but want to laugh. "See, Julian. This is the person you desperately protected in your previous life. Now you're the fish on the chopping block, and she's the one holding the knife. You're still the one to be sacrificed." I didn't listen to the rest and just calmly made a statement. I heard that Gabriel was going to be severely punished, and I felt relieved. The one who should be happier was Luna. After all, in the previous life, she was willing to sacrifice me just to send this lecherous stepfather to prison. She had started a live stream yesterday. She originally wanted to expose the scene of me being humiliated, but the target became Julian. But for her, it didn't matter who was humiliated. She just wanted to send her stepfather to prison. Now everyone knew that Julian had slept with Luna's stepfather. There was a lot of gossip, and they all said that they didn't expect Julian to have such a strange taste. I watched as Luna opened a live stream account and poured out the humiliation she had suffered from her stepfather's molestation in the past. For a while, she attracted a lot of fans, and some people felt sorry for her and gave her rewards. Even more ridiculously, when facing the reporter's interview, Luna wiped her tears and cried, "My stepfather, Gabriel, is a scumbag. I didn't expect him to not care about gender. I just didn't know that Julian was also." I really didn't mean to expose Julian's privacy. I hope he won't have any psychological shadows in the future. The next day, when I went to school, I found that Julian had asked for leave. He had become a celebrity in the whole school and didn't have the face to come to school. When his family learned about the situation, the first thing they did was to take him to the hospital for an anal examination. As a result, they found that he had AIDS. Julian's family was extremely disappointed in him and didn't believe his explanations no matter what. Julian went to Luna and asked her what to do next. But Luna turned her back on him. She looked at him as if he was something dirty. "Julian, you really disgust me. Now everyone outside is spreading the news that you had an affair with an old man. How dare you come to me? Julian went completely crazy and choked Luna's neck, shouting, I did all this for you. How can you treat me like this? Luna fought back without showing any weakness. You should go to Sophia. We agreed to use her as bait. It's just that you were too stupid and got counter-attacked by her. The two of them started fighting, and finally, they made a scene at the police station. Some nosy onlookers took pictures of this scene and posted them online, making Julian famous again. Luna couldn't help but start a live stream again and cried in front of the camera. Julian is my childhood friend and my best friend Sophia's boyfriend. Although he was the victim in this incident, I didn't expect him to try to silence me. It really breaks my heart that my stepfather, Gabriel, is a beast. Sophia also knew about it. But she only cared about her own birthday and didn't consider my self-esteem at all. She let Gabriel enter the villa and exposed this matter on a large scale. I'm really in pain now. I always suspect that her original intention was to let Gabriel ruin me. After she finished speaking, netizens overwhelmingly started scolding Julian and me. They said that Julian and I were truly a match made in hell. But now that I've been reborn, I won't just watch Luna slander me. I immediately made a video with the surveillance footage, the bugged conversation, and the evidence provided by the private detective and posted it online. It clearly recorded how they plotted to send me to Gabriel's bed and the evidence that they wanted to ruin my reputation. I also started a live stream and confronted Luna directly. Luna, I'm asking you. That day, you insisted on celebrating my birthday and made me eat the cake that Julian made with his own hands. But that cake was clearly bought from XX Cake Shop, and the person who delivered the cake was your lecherous stepfather. You already knew that your stepfather was a bad person. Why did you let him deliver the cake to me? What was your intention? My questioning was like a shower of arrows, and Luna was immediately stunned. She could only find various reasons to explain, but the more she explained, the more flustered she became. Netizens in the live stream immediately understood everything and launched a joint attack on Luna. Damn, there's really a reversal. It was Luna who wanted to harm Sophia. I actually helped her speak before. I'm revealing that this Luna has a history of being dishonest and has often tried to steal other people's partners. I feel sorry for Sophia. She just wanted to have a birthday, but it was ruined by a group of villains. Fortunately, it wasn't Sophia who had an accident. The scumbag and the bitch got what they deserved. At that moment, another feast at Hong Men was awaiting me at home. When I got home, my mother slapped me in the face. She stared at me viciously. It's all you're doing, isn't it? You used your insidious scheme to harm Julian and Luna. I covered my face and looked at her infuriately. The nanny Arya also came out with a gloomy face. You vicious girl. You've ruined Luna this time. You must compensate for her losses. The next second, my father and grandmother appeared behind me. My mother panicked immediately. Husband, Mom, why are you here? Husband, weren't you on a business trip abroad? Before she could finish, my father kicked her to the ground fiercely. You bitch, you actually joined forces with outsiders to harm our daughter. Grandma was also filled with righteous indignation. At the same time, she protected me with a pained expression. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes that day, I wouldn't have known that you, as a mother, joined forces with outsiders to bully my granddaughter. I will never let you off. My mother's face turned as pale as paper in fear and immediately knelt at my feet and begged. Sophia, please explain for your mother. Your mother was just doing it for your own good. After all, something happened on your birthday. Your mother was afraid that calling the police would affect your reputation. I said faintly, but Mom, it was you who forced me to eat the cake Julian made. Aren't you an accomplice? Mom, I've investigated. It turns out that Luna is your biological daughter. Your family has long wanted to join forces to harm me. You really have a deep and scheming mind. After I finished speaking, I casually threw a bag of evidence in front of her. Inside the bag was a paternity test report, her recent bank statements, evidence of her private meetings with Arya and Luna, and records of various illegal transactions. Then I explained to my father. Dad, actually Luna is the daughter my mom had with her first love. But she was afraid that having Luna as a burden would make it inconvenient for her to marry you, so she left Luna in an orphanage. Later, Luna was taken in by a man. To be exact, she doesn't have a stepfather at all. Gabriel and she have been in a sugar daddy relationship from the beginning to the end. Mom later found out about all this from the orphanage. She recognized Luna, and they wanted to help Luna get out of that situation. Their way was to let me be humiliated by that Gabriel so that they could send Gabriel to prison. My mother said anxiously, "This is slander. I have no relationship with Luna. She's not my daughter." Before I could speak, my father interrupted her. "Since you say no, I'll take you to do another paternity test myself. If it's proven that you're mother and daughter and you joined forces to frame our daughter, I will make your life a living hell." My mother's face became more and more terrified, and in the end, she knelt at my father's feet and apologized as if resigned to her fate. "I'm sorry, husband. I was forced to do it. It was Arya who instructed me to do this. But please forgive me. I was just confused for a moment. I love Sophia." When Arya saw that she was trying to shift the blame, she immediately started fighting with her and cursed. "You bitch. How dare you say that? Didn't you say that you hated Sophia and this money-wasting girl the most and wanted to make sure she had no chance to fight for the family property?" The two of them fought like dogs biting each other, and the fight was fierce. My father's face turned livid with anger. He ordered the bodyguards to break my mother's arm for hitting me and also gave Arya a good beating. Listening to their continuous screams, the anger in my heart dissipated a little. They had caused me so much harm in my previous life. I think it's only right that I get my revenge this time. After venting our anger, we called the police. My mother and Arya were taken to the police station. With conclusive evidence, they couldn't run away this time. My father immediately divorced my mother and made her leave the house with nothing. Now my mother was in a miserable situation. She had no money and was facing imprisonment. My mother begged me to save her. "Sophia, after all, I'm your real mother. Even if I've done something wrong, you can't just ignore me." Looking at her face, which was smeared with tears, I could only sigh. "Mom, you've never loved me. Nor do you love Luna. You only love yourself. By the way, in your diary, you wrote that you had to break up for some reason, and you've always wanted to be reunited with Luna and him, right? Unfortunately, I found out that he's already married and had children overseas. After all these years, he probably doesn't even remember who you are." My mother's eyes, which had a glimmer of hope, instantly dimmed, and she seemed to lose all her strength and slump to the ground. When she harmed me, her own daughter who treated her sincerely, for the sake of a nebulous boyfriend, she should have known that this would be her fate. After leaving the prison, I went home. Someone in the class group gossiped that they saw Luna frequently going to hotels with old men. Some people also said that they hacked into Luna's QQ space and found that her private diary was full of nude photos with old men. It turned out that she didn't spare her so-called stepfather either. She had already dropped out of school and her private life was extremely chaotic. She didn't even take the college entrance examination. As for me, after going through all this, I successfully took the college entrance examination and got excellent grades. On the day the results were out, my father held a new party for me at home. Just as we were celebrating happily, there was a knock on the door. I went out and saw that it was Julian. His face was bloodless, and his eyes were sunken. He looked like a dying patient. I narrowed my eyes. "What are you doing here?" Julian suddenly knelt down and cried, "Sophia, it's all my fault. Can you save me? I was blind and believed that bitch Luna's lies. She's a heartless creature. I truly love you, Sophia." My bodyguards stepped forward to beat him, but I raised my hand to stop them. I looked down at Julian and chuckled. "Julian, you're in such a down and out state, but there are still some people who can live freely. Don't you understand who really hurt you? These words woke Julian up. He silently got up and left without looking back. 3 days later, I heard the news that Luna was killed. It was said that Julian pretended to be a delivery man and went to Luna's rental house. As soon as he saw her, he stabbed a syringe filled with his own blood into Luna's skin. Luna was so scared that she screamed and struggled. Julian laughed maniacally with a ferocious expression. Luna, this time, you're going to hell with me. After that, the two of them stabbed each other several times during the struggle. Julian wasn't stabbed to death, but Luna died on the spot. I wasn't surprised at all when I heard the news. The scumbag and the bitch deserve to die. At the same time, my father signed me up for a self-defense class during the summer vacation. I'll have some self-defense skills when I go to college. It's really great.